Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? I'm very excited to be here. New version of Filmora is out 9.4.5. If you haven't downloaded it, I have links down in the description. And there's a little bit of information that goes along with that, but I'm telling you, I couldn't be more excited to be here today because I have so much to talk about. Good to see so many familiar faces in the chat right now. If you have any questions, there is a link down in the description where you can put your questions in so I don't miss them. Sometimes the chat goes really fast and I miss them. Mystery 1307, nice to see you. Can you guys hear me okay? Everything sound good? Let me know down in the chat if anything sounds off. We'll do what we can. So listen, there's a couple things that I'm going to cover today. One, I want to talk about the film stocks promotion that we have going on my channel that will that's really going to be something special. It's really awesome. Win a free year of premium film stocks, everything in the catalog for a whole year, and get featured on my channel. So I get to shout you out and show a little bit of what you built. It's going to be very cool. Find Us Camping, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Axonar, are you in here too? I think I saw you. Yeah, there you are. Axonar Comics, good to see you, my friend. So listen. The first thing I'm going to start with really quickly is I do want to talk about the film stocks promotion I have going on. It's the newest video on my channel. If you went to my channel, it's featured right on the homepage or in the videos tab. It's the most recent one up. All you have to do, there are 3 free packs to download from film stocks. This doesn't cost you a penny. If you use one of those 3 free packs, and make a video that's more than 60 seconds long, upload it to your channel, and then drop the link in the comments section of that video, you will be entered to win a free full year of Film Stocks Premium. I can't tell you how awesome that is. Leslie, welcome to the memberships. Hey, listen, we also had someone else join in earlier. If you are a channel member, it's not available in all areas. But if you see down below this particular screen, you'll see the join button is down there. That means it's available in your area. I have this crazy channel memberships program that I love so much. It comes with content that only gets provided to channel members. It has its own private Facebook group, and it's all about channel growth, how to use Filmora better. Any questions you have about growing your channel, that's the place to join. It costs $4.99 a month, which I thought was pretty cheap. It's like $5. And you can cancel at any time. If it's something you're interested in doing, you want to grow your channel, you want to get more in-depth with some of the things we talk about channel growth in Filmora, this is the next tier up so that you can really get a little more access to me and the group that we have going on. It's really awesome. Anyone who's in that group knows it. Iggy, my pal Iggy, this bite's for you in the chat. Iggy can tell you, we're hardcore. We don't play around in that group. So listen, absolutely make sure that you enter into the film stocks contest that I have on my channel. That was something I put together with Filmora. They've been so great. I reached out to them and I said, can we do something for the community? Can we give them something? Let's do something. I want to talk about some of the people out there that are making great content. It's not just about me. I want to talk about other people's content. And they said, yeah, let's give away some film stocks. How much you want to give? And I'm like, can we give a year? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, a year of premium film stocks for you guys, just for making a video on your own channel that you would normally make, but read the rules on that particular video, because you got to use one of the 3 free packs, the doodle pack, crayon pack, confetti pack, and just use it naturally in your video, and make sure that your video complies with the YouTube terms of service and community guidelines. I did have a couple of people sending me stuff that either didn't have those packs in it, or sent me stuff that was like, listen, you're like using other people's footage. I can't feature that. It has to be stuff that conforms with the community guidelines and terms of service. But just use it on your channel. Make something great. Make something you would normally make, some fantastic content, and just use those packs, feature those packs in your video to take it to the next level. And you can win a free year by doing nothing other than saying, hey, Daniel, I made this video on my channel. Here's the link. Entered, you could win. Get featured. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be doing more of this in the future, too. I want to make sure that my community has more perks when it comes to Filmora than any other community out there, because I want you guys to reap the benefits of all the support that you've given my channel. I can't tell you how happy I am when it comes to this community. You guys are great. Wow, thank you, Super Chat. Wow, Yoshizawa, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, my friend. It means a lot. So yeah, definitely check that out. But if you guys have not seen what's going on with the new Filmora, Dogfather's BBQ, good to see you, pal. They released a new version, and they didn't really tell anybody because it's just a slow release. Now, I put the link down in the description below. It's funny. I had originally announced it. It hasn't been introduced onto the new website, the English website. It's on the Spanish website right now. And I put a link down below. So if you go into your Filmora and just open it up and check and see if you have the latest update, it'll probably tell you do. But the truth is you don't. So the link below down in the description will allow you to download the latest version. Now, don't be afraid that it's the Spanish link, because what happens is if you already have Filmora installed, it knows your preferences and saves them. And when it installs a new one, it'll automatically switch to the language that you currently have Filmora installed at. But if you don't, I'm going to show you how to make sure you can set the language appropriately, so that if it does happen to install in Spanish and you go, I've got Spanish Filmora, what am I going to do with this? Let me show you. Let me show you how we can do that. Let me switch over here. I'm going to pull up some other stuff here and show you what's going on. Okay, so if you have installed this right here, the easiest way to tell is if you click on, let me see, upper left. If you click on the Help tab, and you scroll down and you click on About, this will always tell you, let me go center. This will always tell you what version of Filmora you have installed. If you see right at the top here, version 9.4.5.10, okay? That's how you know which version of Filmora you have installed. Whenever I ask any of you if you have questions about something not operating properly, a lot of times I'll ask which version of Filmora do you have installed, and people will say, oh, Filmora 9. But this is where you actually find out the exact version, so that if you have questions, I can always make sure that you've got the latest one installed and give you a hint in the comments like, oh, go download the newest one. Now, if you download it and for some reason, when I downloaded it, everything was right back into English. It's all in English for me. But if for some reason yours isn't, go up to the File menu, scroll down to Preferences, and if you go into the General tab, that's the first tab in Preferences. Let me center this a little better. You will see the very first drop-down is User Interface, and it gives you the selection of languages. Now, I know some people have said to me like, oh, Filmora doesn't support my language. It supports a certain amount of them. It's getting better. But if yours, whatever language you've been using in, this is where you set the language that Filmora will default to while you're using it. If you are looking to get your language supported, and it doesn't currently support it, I always tell people, under the Help tab, scroll down to the New Feature Request, and it'll bring you to the page that allows you to get into the forum, and you can, let's see right here, you can actually drop in a new feature request and give feedback and say, hey guys, I wish that Filmora was in Urdu or something like that. Do it here, because the more voices that reach out to Filmora and ask for things, the more likely they are to make those changes. They listen to the community, they listen to the users, and if you guys speak in unison and make your voices heard, I send along the things you tell me, but I'm just one voice. I don't have any more power than you do. So when you guys see something in Filmora that you go, I wish it was in my native, I know some of my Cambodian friends have said, I wish it was in our language, put those requests in through the Help tab under the New Feature Request. And if enough of you ask for it, Filmora will hear you and go, look, this is something that's important to the Filmora user base. Let's see if we can make that happen. All right, super important. Let me just take a quick peek and chat here. I do have a questionnaire down in the, it's pinned right in the description. Axonar, if you want to drop that into the chat, that's fine too. Please put your questions into the questionnaire. Like I said, they go by quickly. I like to answer as many questions as I can when we're talking about the new Filmora and what you might be working on. But I can't always see the chat, so if you put them there, that way I'll find them. Okay, that would be fantastic. So let me start by showing you the new Filmora. It's got some cool things. It's got some cool updates that I think are totally something that you guys will be interested in. So let's see. Here we go. Let me share that screen. This is the new Filmora. It looks a lot like the old Filmora, right? But there's a few things that have happened in the last couple of updates, and this one specifically, that you guys really need to pay attention to, that I think you're going to love. One of the updates that just started happening is a lot of you guys have asked about this. Do you ever see this little split head right in the playhead? Allows you, this was a newer update that you can actually click right in the playhead and it'll split the footage just by clicking on the playhead, and then you've split it right there. I thought that was a great feature. This really was something that that I liked. I thought it was a smart choice. But the other thing that you can do now is if you go up into the preferences section and you go over to editing, at the bottom, you're now going to see that there is an option for show the split button on the timeline playhead. Now pay attention right here. Watch this. See that split button? If you unclick it and hit OK, now it goes away. How cool is that? It now goes away, so you don't have to have it there if you don't like it, or you can leave it in. So that's one of the newer features that is now in the 9.4.5, which I think is very cool. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. One of the features I also want to talk about that they just started putting in, let me get rid of that change too, is up in the, right here. A lot of times when I put my clips down into my timeline and I'm working with them, if you're using a lot of clips, it's very hard sometimes to remember what everything is, because sometimes they all look similar, especially if you're using the same footage. But they just added a new feature that is really, really strong. That it's an expansion on a previous feature. If you right-click on your footage, see at the bottom here, it's got a color selection. You can now have a large variety of colors that you can assign to this footage, so that when you're starting to build out your project, you can change the colors that are associated with these clips. So maybe you have two clips that are very identical, but one is, but you did one thing to one and not to the other. What you can do is assign a color to it and see how that just changed. It's really noticeable when you have audio, because this one has audio. If I change that to orange, see how orange, that's perfect because it's an orange clip. I turned myself into an orange. Or if you want to change that to blue, let me see if I can actually hit the blue, green. Here is, and what you can do is it's really powerful, so that if you have similar clips in your timeline, that way you can color code them and you can work through some of those, the ability to separate areas. I do this a lot. I'll take clips, I'll take one and I'll change it, I'll add a layer, I'll do something. And what happens is it's hard for me to distinguish what I did. Super Dave, good to see you, my pal. It's hard to distinguish what I did because they all look similar when I have 10,000 clips floating around in my project. But now you can assign a lot of different color coding, and it's just a nice, easy way to take a piece of content and go, I'm going to put this color to it. That way I know which one it was. I know I wanted to work with the blue ones. And you can group them that way, like all the red ones, if they're all supposed to stay together. With the grouping feature, you can make all of them red, all of them blue, and say, yeah, these all belong together. That was a clip that I added a transition to, and I had a layer of text over it, and I can group them, make them all red, and they're really easy to spot when you're working on a really bigger project that has a lot of information down in it. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Do you guys dig that? I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm going to get to a lot here today. So if you're asking questions, again, we have a link down below to drop questions into the questionnaire. I just want to run through some of the new features on 9.4.5, which I'm very excited about. I'm really excited about it. Here's another cool thing. Oh, I got to show you this. Here is another really cool thing. If you check out, let's say you have a piece of footage, especially if it has audio. I do this all the time. I'll have a clip, right? And I'll be working with it. And I know you guys will too, where you take that clip. Let me do this. Let me move some of this other stuff out of the way so I have room to stretch. If you have a clip and you have split it a few times, right? And maybe you've got several clips. Maybe they're completely different clips and they all have audio, right? But if you want to, you know how to detach. I think you guys know how to do this. You can right click on any piece of footage and you can scroll up and you can detach the audio. That takes the audio from this piece of footage and puts it into its own audio track. I think a lot of you know how to do that, right? Very simple. It just takes it, removes it, and now you can treat the audio separately. And this is important in a bunch of different ways, especially when you're trying to, add different audio underneath, or you're trying to, separate the audio track and then control it in the mixing features. That's very cool. It's a very cool feature. But check this out. You can now do this. You can now pick a piece of footage. I'm going to click on the first one. I'm going to hold the control key on my keyboard, control key, which now lets me left click and select more than one. So I've now selected all three, right? So these are all highlighted. Can you see that? If I right click on any one of them now and I detach audio, all of them, all of the audio from each clip ends up down in an audio track. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I love it. I love it. I've been waiting for this for a while. When I had a bunch of stuff and I wanted to just take the audio from that and take it down, because I'll have like an entire timeline that has 90 pieces in it. And you can click on the first piece of footage, hold the shift key, click on the last piece of footage, and it highlights them all. But there could be 90 different pieces in there, and I have to one by one detach the audio. Now I can highlight the entire timeline, even if there's all different pieces of footage. I can highlight it, right-click, detach the audio, and it takes all of those audio clips from the entire timeline, no matter how different those pieces of footage are, and drops them down into an audio track. Man, and this is because you guys asked for these things. You guys said, hey, man, can we do this? Would it be possible? And asked for those features. I'm so excited that does that now. If you guys have not downloaded the newest version, again, the link is down in the description of this video. It comes with full instructions. Because there's a little caveat there. It's not available on the English site. The minute they let me know that it was available, I posted it up. And, of course, some of the links are bad, and it's not really available on the English site yet. But I'm like, listen, if you tell me I can get it, I'm going to tell my community that they can get it too. So I'm really excited about this. Make sure you download the newest version. So that's one of the coolest things that I've seen about this so far. But there's some other stuff that happens. There's other stuff going on that I want to make you aware of. A couple of different changes that are going on with this new one. I think a lot of you guys know that I'm a big fan of exporting your final product to your computer first. I've talked about this before. I think it's much better to export your final project when it's done locally. Save it to your computer, and then go to YouTube and upload that file directly to YouTube from your computer. One, I think you're asking your computer to do less. You're not trying to export and upload at the same time, which can make your computer run harder. And two, you'll always have a backup of the completed project saved to your files. That being said, a lot of you still like to upload directly to YouTube from the Filmora software, right from Filmora 9. And that's cool. That's a feature that Filmora is aware of, and they make sure that you can do that. But they've added a few more things in the new export settings. Check this out. So this is the YouTube tab. Again, locally, if you wanted to save it to your computer, you'd click on local. But if you want to go right to YouTube, a lot of you guys do this. You'll click on the YouTube tab. Let me see if I can get a little closer. Is that a little better? But look at this, guys. Look at this. You can now upload in public and unlisted and private. So you have options for how you're going to upload your video. That was something that wasn't completely available before. They didn't have unlisted. It's been added in. So this is really cool. I love that you can now do this in Filmora for those of you who do upload directly. So that is super cool. Super cool. I love this. I also want to show you, oh my gosh, I got to show you this one. Check this out. You guys know I'm a huge fan of pan and zoom, right? You know I'm a huge fan of pan and zoom. That's probably, I would say, of all the features available on Filmora 9, their ability to crop and zoom, pan and zoom, move around the screen, really take advantage of that motion, it's so good. And they make it so simple. It's like, here's a start window, here's an end window, end window, I can speak. What do you want us to do in between? And then Filmora keyframes the motion in between those. I know we talk about keyframing. Filmora doesn't specifically have keyframing, but it does in the crop and zoom tool. It keyframes that motion for you automatically. But look what they've done here. This is really cool. The new version, make sure you have it, 9.4.5, links in the description. Check out what you can do here. If you now right-click on your piece of footage, let me find it. Hold on one second because I have everything pulled apart. And you click on crop and zoom. You're going to see in the pan and zoom tab. See up here, this starts with crop, but now in the pan and zoom option, if you click over to pan and zoom, look down here. Can you see these? They've got a bunch of new presets for you that make life really sweet. Like you can immediately switch. We used to have this switch key, right? We'd go start to end, and it swapped the boxes, right? This is our start box. This is our end box. Swap them, and you can swap right there. But you can do an immediate swap right here, nice and easy. You can do right back to the full crop pan and zoom. But look at this. You can do a pan preset left to right just by clicking on that. The boxes are already preset to the perfect size, or you could do a pan from right to left. See how this is the end box here? That's the start box. So now it has some preset areas, so you don't have to spend all that time trying to size your boxes and trying to get them set up. So you can go, look, I just wanted to create a quick pan from here. I'm going to click on this one, left to right. You can now just click on that, set your box where you want it. Like I just want to go across the face of this dude, and then I want to end up over here, and that's all I wanted to do in that section. And then when you click on it and you play it, it will start to pan right across that piece of footage. How cool is that? How cool is that? I love that they're incorporating these shortcuts. A lot of you guys, and I want to talk to you about this thing. I get a lot of questions where people will say, Daniel, what's the difference between Filmora 9 and Filmora Pro? Let me sit here for 1 second so that I can really talk about this and make sure you understand. Because a lot of you guys are using Filmora 9 and thinking, oh, one day I'll be able to get Filmora Pro because that's the upgrade. Those two pieces of software are completely different. They have completely different options. They have completely different layouts. They work completely differently and look completely different. The reason they developed this other Filmora Pro was for people who didn't like this ease of use, all the built-in transitions, all the built-in effects. It was for people who say, yeah, that's great. It's just not how I work. I like to work more like HitFilm or Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve. I like that layout, and I like being able to dive super deep into my edit. So what Filmora did was they put out Filmora Pro at a really reduced price. It's so much cheaper than anything else. It doesn't have all the functionality of some of those bigger ones. They're building it up. I think you've noticed they've added motion tracking to it recently, and they're slowly building it up. But they wanted to build something that was affordable, but a deeper layer of really digging in. But I use Filmora 9 as my daily driver because it's fast. It does what I need. It makes great videos. It has a ton of features. And I'm totally sold on Filmora 9, even though I have licenses for both, and I do use Filmora Pro sometimes. I just love that, Filmora 9, you can usually get it for $60 on any given day, and with a discount code, you can get it for less. And it does so many great things, and it's fast. So if you love Filmora 9, don't feel like you have to jump over to Filmora Pro, because it's not an upgrade. It's a different software. Think of it like if you went into, like Chevrolet, and you're going to buy a vehicle. They have trucks, and they have Corvettes. If you need a truck because you're pulling stuff and hauling gear, then you buy the truck. If you are living in California and it's warm all the time and you want to leave the top down and you're not ever moving anything around, you're just having fun, then the Corvette is the right thing, but never expect one to be the other. So figure out which one's right for you and then make sure you purchase the right software. I always get asked that question, and I want to make sure I make that clear. Sir, what about the clone? I see that right in here. I have a video on cloning. I have one that's on cloning that if you search, I want to show you guys another thing. Let me give you 1 second. I want you guys to see. Let me do one more screen here. I want to show you guys something. I have enough content up that I get a lot of questions, and I don't think people understand how easy it is to find things on my channel. So I want to show you something that if you have any questions, if you ever think like, did Daniel make a video on this? I want to show you something really simple, okay? Let's go here. If you go to my channel, here's that join feature that I talked about. If you want to become part of the memberships group, you can click right there to join. But if you ever have a question like, did Daniel do anything on his channel about cloning? Look right down here. Do you see this little search bar right here? That search is within my channel, and you can go through my entire catalog and search and go, well, let me find out. I wanted to learn if Daniel did anything about cloning. You can just put the word clone in. Hit enter, boom. You'll immediately find anything on my channel that had to do with cloning, okay? Or the mirror trick or anything else. It immediately starts searching within my channel. Or if you said, man, I wish Daniel had done a video on, zooming effects. So if you type in zoom, if I have any titles that covered zoom, pan and zoom, screen capture zoom, buttery smooth effect, infinite zoom, eye zoom, dolly zoom, it's all right here. It's all right here. I've finally gotten to the point where there's enough content on my channel that you can use it like a library. So go right to the homepage, and if there's ever a question like, I wonder if Daniel did this video, just search, because it's a really quick way to find if I've already made something. Because sometimes it takes me, I do my best to answer every one of the questions. I love that you guys come in and ask questions in the comments. Always ask me questions. I will be there to answer them. And it doesn't have to be specific to that video. I've said it. If you got a question, come into any video and ask the question in the comments section. And I do my best to keep up with each and every one of those. Sometimes I miss. There's a lot. But that's an easy way to find something on my channel. If you need to know how to do something, ask. If you search it. And if you don't find what you're looking for, ask me, okay? Trouble with green screen feature. I'm getting a lot of ghosting in the background showing through on my shirts and edges. Dirty D's, thanks for that. Thanks for that super chat. And if you're using, first of all, make sure you're using the latest version. There were a couple versions of Filmora that some of the transitions weren't quite on. There was a bit of white showing up in the split screen. The other thing I want to make sure you understand is lighting. Lighting is super important. If you go, because I appreciate the super chat, Dirty D's, if you go to my homepage and scroll down to the live streams, where I have the live streams, you're going to find that, go right, let me see, right here, let's go here, right to my homepage. If I have everything set up in playlists, if you go down to my live streams down at the bottom, this, let me see, right here, this one right here, live training tips and tricks, at the 10-minute mark of this video, I talked about how to do all the cloning in Filmora 9. So just scroll ahead to the 10-minute mark of this video, and that'll give you all the information you need to. I walk through everything, how to find the masks, how to set it up, and it should cover it. But the biggest thing you have to do, if you're going to do a cloning effect, if you're going to split, make sure your lighting is right. Because if you film something and it's a little grainy or a little weird, or the lighting is off, what happens is when you create that cloned split screen, what happens is that you can see the difference because the two pictures aren't well lit. They're not even. So you're trying to smash together two things that aren't really balanced. So I can't tell you this enough. Anybody looking to do a clone effect, make sure that your lighting is dead on and that you've really spent a lot of time setting up your shot. So when you go to clone and split the screen, that you don't see obvious big lines and stuff going on. Okay? I hope that answered your question. Let's see. What else do we have going on here? I want to talk about, let's see, what else we have. Unlink audios, we covered that. Closing gaps, pan and zoom, unlisted. I think we got a lot of that. I think we've got a lot of these done. I'm going to take a look at the questions that you guys asked in my question form, okay? If you go down below, I posted a questionnaire down in the description. Let's get right into those so I can make sure I'm handling the things that you guys want to talk about. The very first question we have is from Boomboxer. Is there a way to make VFX in Filmora? VFX. So VFX is a lot of times you'll see like the screen, those overlays where it's like explosions or like a screen crack or something like that. Can you make them in Filmora? Those are better. It's a tough question. It's tough to make those in Filmora. It's very advanced production to create a VFX because you have to know how to make them either green screen or transparent. My general answer to this is no. Filmora supports VFX. You can bring them in. There are plenty on Filmstocks that are fantastic. I put out a video recently showing you guys how to get some free stuff from ProductionCrate.com. Make sure you check that out too. They have some paid stuff. I've got a full license for the year to Production Crate. Fantastic stuff there too. It's like $50 for the whole year. You can use everything. So while Filmora supports VFX, creating them, it depends which one you're making. If you were trying to create a crack in your screen, yeah, you could kind of make that with a green screen background and create a crack and then export it and then bring it back in and then just remove the green. Yes, but super like explosions and helicopters falling to the ground, people spend a lot of time making those. You're better off finding those as a VFX resource from Filmstocks or from someone like Production Crate and then bringing them in and using them, okay? Let's see, what's the next question here? Let's go over and see question number 2. Question number 2 comes from SimpleTube. Can you do a car collision with a person? Dude, have you ever seen me drive? No problem. I can do that 6 days, 7 days a week. Oh, you meant in Filmora. Yeah, you can. It's another split screen technique and masking technique. A collision with a person. I tend not to. So you guys know, I try to keep my channel fairly family friendly. you don't see a lot of gunfire or people getting hurt. Not only do I not really like doing that kind of stuff because I've got a lot of different age groups that watch my content, but it can get you in trouble on YouTube. Any kind of even simulated injuries and gore or death can actually get your channel in trouble. You have to be very careful. So I try to avoid that. But there's a few things that I've thought about doing, like the ways to do, like walking out on the street, ducking down, and having a car drive over you. You can definitely do that in Filmora. That is on my list, the idea of creating those things. So I might do one of those, but I don't know if I'm going to ever do a car hitting somebody. It's a little too gory for what I try to do here. I do try to keep it family friendly. But you know, if you join the memberships group, maybe I'll show you in private. Let's see. Next question from Cheaper Charlie. I'm on Windows version 9.2.7. You have posted about the new version when I open up Filmora and go. It says I have the latest version. How do I get the latest? What Charlie is saying right here is that sometimes when you actually go into Filmora and you check the help, we talked about this earlier. If you click on help and then look at about and see what version is here, it'll tell you what version you have. And sometimes when you click on help and it has the option for, let me go upper left so I can show you this. It says check for update. Sometimes it will tell you you have the latest version. But the truth is, it's a kind of a weird thing. Filmora puts out stuff so frequently that sometimes it takes a while for them to get into the software. So don't always trust that if your Filmora is telling you have the latest version, it's just the latest mass released version. I will always try to tell you if there's a newer version available, how to download it, where you can get it, and if it's safe to download. So right now, 9.4.5 is the latest version. Make sure you have it downloaded. Link in the description. Yes, it comes from a Spanish site. Yes, you can put it right back into English if it happens to load in Spanish. Get it. It's really good. It's really good. I'm liking it a lot already so far. Let's see. Let me grab another question here. Next question. What's your channel name? Eric F. Drums. Do we know when the update will be posted for Windows? I just answered that. It's there. It's in the description. Go grab it. You can grab it for PC. And I also have the link for Mac down there, so you can do both. Next question. Hashtag Timil Hindu. I need voiceover tips. Audio record is not very clear as compared to Audacity. This is something I'm going to cover in another video. I've been saying I would do this forever. Filmora has some very specific audio abilities that you can control. Your EQ, you can clean it up. It's good. I'll make a video. I've actually done a live stream on that, which is in my live stream playlist on my homepage, where I've done some audio tips and talked about some of those functions. I'm going to do a deeper one. I actually want to get the guys from Filmora in, and I want to have them hear your requests. I want you guys to shout out some of the things that you'd like to see happen so we can add them. I'd like to see more effects. I wish Filmora had maybe VST plugins so that we could add reverb, delay, tremolo, vibrato, and not have Filmora have to build them. Just add it as an effects patch and drop it in and go, you don't have to build it. I just want the ability to add it to my track. I've pushed them towards it. Like I said, I don't have any more power than you do. I always just yell at them like, hey, can you do this? Can you give us this? We love this. But I always worry that, if you get Filmora 9 to do too much, that means it needs more system resources to run. So for every new thing they bring, like motion tracking, if that came to Filmora 9, suddenly Filmora 9 would need a higher system requirements. It'd need more graphics processing, more CPU. And they're always really careful that's why they built Filmora Pro for that really deep dive stuff. If they make Filmora 9 so advanced that it costs more and you need a really expensive computer to run it, it's missed the point. That it was never designed to be that. They try to give you a ton of options for a software that still runs on a fairly simple computer. So there's a balance in there. But VoiceOver, there's a couple things that I use that are free software that I'm going to totally cover in the next couple of weeks here. The way I edit my audio for all of my videos, I do it outside of Filmora, and everything I use to edit my audio to make it sound like real radio rich and thick, right now you can download and use for free right now. So I'm going to do a video on that, and I'm going to show you the tools that I use, and hopefully it'll get you guys into another layer of software that will really get your audio pumped up. Audacity's okay. Wait till I teach you about Reaper. Wait till I teach you about Reaper. It's like having your own recording studio in your house, and all of the plugins are free. You can go get incredible plugins that will blow your mind. Vibrato, reverb, all the things that you guys asked me about. I get free links to all of that. VST plugins. We'll talk about that soon. Okay, so keep an eye out for when I put out an audio tutorial on my channel. It won't be so much Filmora based. It'll be just a general consumption one where I'm showing you guys how to get some free assets to really up your game. Okay, so we'll get to that one soon. Let me say, next question. I'm going to try to move as quickly as I can so I can get to all of your questions. Gone Wrong 3 says, hey, I was wondering if we can do the amazing Luma fade that Sam Colder did in my year 2016. Let me check that one out. I'll get back to you. There's a lot of the effects that are in Filmora are Sam Colder based. A lot of the way they swoop and twirl and move around. That's one of the things I love about Filmora 9 is they actually take a look at some of the top guys who are doing cool transitions and they build them in. But let me look at the Luma fade because I don't know that specifically, and I'll get an answer to you when I can actually, if I know it, I can tell you, but I don't really know that one off the bat, but I'll get back to you on that one, okay, Gone Wrong? And don't be afraid to ask me that question down in the comments section too, and I'll go a little deeper and see if I can find it and tell you what I know, okay? Next question. Let's see, Gluten-Free Cooking and Baking says, hi, Daniel, I hope you're fine. I'm good. I hope you guys are fine. You guys staying safe out there? My question is there a way to add custom other than FilmStock transitions that can be downloaded from various websites? The answer to that question is no. You can't take other transitions and load them into this software because they're not compatible, but make sure you take a look at some of my tutorials on crop and zoom. I've created so many custom transitions just by using the pan and zoom, whipping to one corner and coming back in the next. I've covered this so many times where you can create these really fantastic custom transition rolls and twists just by learning how to master the crop and zoom tool. That's why I always say crop and zoom tool is my favorite. You can do so much with it. You can take a still image and make it feel like it's got some motion, move in, move out. You can whip to another piece of footage just by learning how to crop and zoom out of one and then back into another. And you can create transitions that everyone goes, how did you do that? Yeah, simple, couple matching of crop and zoom. Great question, though. Love that question. Let me get to the next question here. Let's see, from Freeway Flippers, he says, when I try to add a lower third, 3 text and stretch it out, it pops up so slow. Is there a way to speed that up in Filmora? Liz, I know who this is. How you doing, Liz? Thank you for dropping that question here. Yes, there is. If you guys have ever added a lower third, like text, right? They pop up in the bottom. Usually mine are like over here, pop over here. And as you stretch it out, right, you make that text longer in the track. All of a sudden, the effect that goes along with it is slower. Let me show you how you can control that one, okay? So if you are in, let me go here, Filmora. Let me close this. So if we add a text track, so you go up to titles, and we're going to click on the lower thirds option. And let's start with, I'm going to pick one. I'm just going to pick this one. I use this one a lot, lower third 3. So here's this lower third. Let's line it up right with the beginning of this. And what happens is when this comes in, you have to excuse this really old computer I'm using for this particular tutorial. I need to build another one so that's faster. This one's my old slow one. What happens is when you actually drop that in, it'll go pretty quick. It's got some preset motions, right? And then it pops in, it says title here, and then it pops through, and then it disappears again. What Liz is asking is, yeah, well, what happens is, Daniel, when I stretch that way out, if I go really long, right, what she's saying is when I go back to the beginning and that comes in, because I stretched it out, do you see how slow it's going now? Do you see up here how slow this is coming in because she stretched it out? She's like, I don't want it to be that slow. I wanted the title to be, the lower third to be longer, but I didn't want it to be so slow. Here's your answer. What you want to do is double left click on that down in the timeline, and you'll notice up in the upper left, it's going to open up this tab. And right here, you'll see Advanced. Click on the Advanced tab, okay? And once you get that open, this is going to now deal in more depth with this particular lower third. Now, one of the first things I tell everybody is there's 2 elements to this lower third. There's the title, and there's like this one has this little orange bar next to it. If you ever want to get rid of anything like that, just click on that. Here's your 2 elements. Highlight it down below right here. Click on that. And then up in the upper left here, kind of up top, click delete, it gets rid of that section. So that little piece is gone. You can control what you want to keep or what you want to lose. But look at the bar right here. Can you see these white little bracket faders right here? This controls the speed of how quickly the effect is applied coming in, and there's one on the end. This one controls how quickly the speed is added on the outro, and you can control each. Now, not every animation does this, but a good majority do. If you have an animation and you stretch it out, that makes the effect come in slower. Just come to the Advanced tab, set it for faster, which means shrink it down, put it closer to the ends, hit OK, and then when you come back to your track and hit play, you'll see that comes in much faster again. See how quickly that popped out now? Because I controlled the speed of the animation for this text track right here. So that's in the Advanced tab, okay? Advanced tab. Now, you're going to find that some do. There's a couple of them that you'll notice they don't have that option. Some of the animations have that control, some don't. And there's different versions, some the way they come in from the left or right. So play around with the animations that are available that have that speed control and pick one that does. Because there's like, if you want to move in from the left to the right, there'll be like 4 different versions of to the right. So find one that has a speed control, apply that one, and then as you stretch your title out in your project, go back into the Advanced tab and then control how quickly it jumps over, which is the intro, and then how quickly it zooms back out at the end once it's done sitting there. Okay? That's a really cool way to do it. That's the fastest way to do it. Let me get back over to the questions here. Let's see. Hey, man, there's 208 people watching, and I've got 139 likes and 3 dislikes. Hit the like button. Don't be afraid to like the stream. That's okay. Don't be afraid to share the stream out, too. People like to know when there's information out there. I appreciate it. Puts food on my table. Let me talk to you about the next questions we have. Liz, I hope that answered your question. Next question I have is Fishing Club 39. When will the freehand mask in Filmora 9 be available? I don't know. You're talking about a freehand, an intelligent masking tool. They don't currently, as far as I know, have any plans for it. I said before, these are super advanced features. I would guess that it's probably going to come to Filmora Pro before it'll come to Filmora 9, because that software is built for advanced editing, and this Filmora 9, if they start putting that in, the requirements are going to go through the roof, and half the people who are using it now won't be able to update, because it's like, if I update to the new version, my system no longer meets minimum specs, and it'll run poorly. I have that problem with a lot of people who like the shake effect. They added the shake effect. I have a lot of people say, I can't find the shake effect, even though I've uploaded or I've downloaded the newest version. If your system doesn't meet minimum system requirements or has the lower than spec graphics processor GPU, a lot of times those effects that are GPU enabled, they're accelerated, don't show up because your system can't handle them. So the Filmora 9 software doesn't run properly because, yes, you've downloaded it, but your system doesn't meet specs and everything doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So they're always walking that balance of still making Filmora 9 great, but not tilting the ship over so hard with stuff that it does that everyone needs to buy a new computer to run it. That's what they don't want to do. So I always have a lot of respect for Filmora, that they were very smart about always thinking about the viewer first, what they need, but not swamping their system specs, okay? So we'll see. It's one of those things. I'd like to see intelligent masking, I'd like to see motion tracking, and I'd like to see audio effects. If they could give me those 3 things and only make it a little more system intensive, I'd stop asking for stuff. Then I'd be all set. I'd never need another software because it would do everything that I needed it to do. But I'll let you know the minute I find out something new is being offered, just like today, 9.4.5, link in the description. If there's something new, you guys will be the first to know from me, okay? Even though when they tell me sometimes I can't tell you, I'm like, come on, let me tell them. That's how I roll. Next question. What do we got here? The next question is from Mystery1307. How would you match the depth of field blur of an effect to footage? Is there a blur effect in Filmora? There is. There actually is a blur effect in Filmora 9 that you can add to a track. Let me get rid of some of this other stuff. If you pick a piece of footage here, it is, let's see, and you go up to effects. Let me see where I always forget. I don't use it that much. There is some basic blurs. Oh, this is, let me see. Let me share my screen. There we go. Okay, if you go, because I talk so fast, I forget things. If you go up in the upper left, and you click on effects. This is one of my favorite things that sometimes people don't know is here. It's a search bar. You can put a search in instead of trying to find it in the drop down. Just make sure you're in the largest tab, all of the included. And then over here in the search, it's a micro search. Type in blur, and it'll give you your blur options. So there's basic blurs, heavier blurs, slant blurs, bokeh blurs. And you can add these onto your, either above the track. I think you can actually add them onto the track. Yeah. So let me go full screen here 1 second. Let me show you everything. So what I did, let me undo that really quickly. What I did was I grabbed the blur, I brought it down. You can either put it above or you can drop it right into the track. I say you can drop it right above. Let me make sure I do that right. Drop it right onto your track. See how it makes the whole track white? That's how you know that this effect can be added to the entire track. If you do that, it's now added the blur. Can you see this is a blur effect that's in here? And there's different types of blurs. And if you left click on that piece of footage in the upper left, if you scroll down, you'll all of a sudden see that video effects has a green check mark. It's because you've added an effect to this track, and here it is, blur, and this is where it'll give you more control over the actual blur effect so that you can regulate how much blur is happening in there. This is a sort of a pulsing blur, which is kind of cool. But that's one way. That's one way that you can do it. There's a few different blurs, but they're all somewhere within the effects tab. Tons and tons of good stuff in there. Add that to a track. If there's something in the foreground that you're trying to deal with, how would you match the depth of field? You can blur like the outside edges and stuff like that. And that's how I usually do it. It kind of centers and just affects the edges. That perfect depth of field, I think what Mystery is talking about is like a good camera. A good camera will focus on what's up front, and then it will not focus on the back. And I always try to do most of that when I film. Trying to recreate that in post is a little trickier because you're trying to tell Filmora to figure out which parts of the image to focus on. And again, Filmora is not specifically built for that. That's a bit more of a masking tool where you would mask out a section and then blur the background. But you can create some blur in the basic field in the edges to keep the center focused and then have a little blur around the edges. Not perfect, but it works. Next question. Meselek. Hey, Daniel, when will you make the video of my request? Images as masks in Filmora 9. Well, I will, it's on my list. I've got, there's some images as masks. When will you make my video? Sorry. I wasn't taking your request quick enough. I was lollygagging, messing around, not doing the thing you asked me to. There is a way to make custom masks in Filmora that I'm going to talk more about, but I'll give you a preview of that. If you, let me go over here. This is here. Let me go here. If you go into a piece of footage and you click on effects, I've got blur written up here in the search box, so I got to get rid of that. But if you go down to filters, utility. If you go down to utility and add mask, you can bring a mask down onto this piece of footage. Then when you click on that again and go down to the video effects tab, you'll see the image mask. You can, the very first option, let me see if I can dial it in here for you. See this? You have the ability to add a mask. You can click on that, and if you've built a mask, you can import it and use it in Filmora 9. They have all these preset shapes, but you can create your own shape mask. You can create something that you use for your project that's specifically your own mask. There's a way to do this. You have to build it in an external program. If you have a Photoshop or anything like that, there's even ways to do it in really simple photo editing software. I'm going to make a video on that. I'm going to show you how to make your own custom masks because a lot of people ask me, Daniel, how can I remove the sky? I want to change the sky. Well, you can't do it immediately, like just color it out in Filmora. But what you can do is if you've got a landscape shot, you can make a mask that fits that contour, build it out, bring it into Filmora, and then mask out the background and change the sky. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that video for you guys. So that it's not the perfect intelligent masking tool, but you can create custom masks that will allow you to do shapes and forms that Filmora doesn't have built right into the software. It's pretty cool. Let me check over here. How you guys doing in the chat? Everybody staying awake? 215 people here. Man, it's late night for some of you guys. I appreciate you staying up. I'll try to get into as many questions as we can. Jose, how you doing, pal? See you in the chat. Good to see you. Let's talk about the next question here. What do I got? Next question says, from Sam. Hey, Daniel, is it possible to perform a shaky cam with Filmora 9 without shaking the camera? Yes, there is. There is, Sam. If your system meets the minimum system requirements, you can add a shake effect. Oh, this is something new I got to teach you in a minute. Let's talk about shake first. But let me do this. If you have a piece of footage, let's go back here. This piece of footage right here, you can see it's just me being an orange. Me being an orange. I can't believe that I've come to the point in my career where I get to tell people, yes, you can see me being an orange. What's up with my life? So here's me being an orange. Now, if I wanted to add like a shaky cam effect to that, what you can do is up in the effects tabs, I believe. I think you have to go to included, drop down. Let me go upper left so you can see. If you go to the effects tab, this included is your top. If you drop down to the next one, it says filters. Let me drop down. See how this expands the drop down menu? The very first option is shake right here, okay? So effects, filters, expand the drop down, shake. Now you have the ability to add different motions to your footage. If you take, I like mild. If you just want to get a little bit of a motion to it, take the mild one down. I guess you can put it on a whole piece of footage. I'm going to drop that on top of this piece of footage. I'm going to double left click on it. And when I scroll down, I'm already in the video effects tab. Under video, I go down to the video effects. It tells me what has been added for effects for this piece of footage. You'll now see, if you look in my upper right preview window when I play, there's going to be some, you see the motion? There's some motion added. And you can control what that motion is. You can control the RGB separate, which gives the colors a little blur. You can turn that on or off. You can create a little motion blur, so it actually blurs the image as the thing moves. You can turn that on or off. You can control the frequency, which is how often it's moving around. Is it just a little bit? And then X and Y and Z positions are how much it's going left and right, up and down, in and out. So you can dial those way back, and you can get just a slight motion. You could go, I just want a little motion, almost like a slight boat rocking or something, right? It just tilts a little bit, and it'll give you that slight motion. See how that is up in the upper right? Or you can increase that if you want to get like an increase, but just a very slight. I don't want it to go all over the place. I just want it to go faster. So more frequency, but it's only going to shake a tiny bit, almost like you're shaking your camera. And that'll give you this kind of effect. But you can go insane. You can go insane with this. You could choose to add chaos, like Chaos 2 or Extreme. Bring that down into your footage instead. Turn that on. Go down. Here's Extreme. And you can go insane. You can make things go nuts. You can make your footage look like you're in the middle of an earthquake. See that? That was a short piece of footage. But you see how much it shakes? See how crazy that is? That's how you apply that insane shaking motion. I do it a lot. A lot of times I'll do something like a text drop. You guys have seen me do this where I'll drop a piece of text into the frame, and then I'll add a shake to it just for a minute, just for a slow second, so that the whole footage shakes when something drops, and then add a big boom sound effect. And suddenly something as simple as a piece of text coming in from the top makes it feel like the whole screen exploded. Really, really cool way to make your footage jump out. I hope that answered your question, my friend. Let's see. Next question right here. We have from Vita Vlogs. Do you think Filmora 9 will be adding the motion tracking to the software anytime soon? We talked about that a minute ago. It's in Filmora Pro. If it comes to Filmora 9, which I think would be cool, we'll see. Do I think it's soon? I've asked them a million times and they won't give me an answer, which means they've heard you. They've heard you. But they're trying to figure out if they can do it effectively and not break the bank and shut down your computers and make sure that Filmora 9 still works effectively. Do they have a scheduled date for it? Absolutely not. If they do, they won't tell me about it, but they've heard you. And I keep pushing too. So fingers crossed. Seeing it in Filmora Pro was very important to me because it made me understand that they've been working on the technology to integrate it into their software. So if it's in Filmora Pro, maybe next step is Filmora 9. I'll let you know. The minute I find out, I'll let you know, I promise. Next question. From Josh Blannon. If you update Filmora, will the project you were working on disappear? They're not supposed to. If you already have Filmora installed and you install the update, it usually overwrites the existing software, but it usually saves your project files. But I've never had it not save my project files, but I say this every time. You have worked far too hard on your projects to not back them up. Take your project files, move them. I always save mine externally. I don't save them where Filmora tells me to. I put them to an external drive so that they can't be erased in an update. Even if everything gets wiped out on the new update, all my project files are saved on an external hard drive, and I can pull them up afterwards, okay? So please, even though it's not supposed to, crazy things happen sometimes, and we all work too hard on our projects to have something erased. So it's not supposed to. It usually doesn't. I've never seen it happen to me, but you never know. So better to be safe than sorry, okay? Keep that in mind, Josh. Next question. Dark Heaven Creations. Why does Filmora hang so much, even with 24 gigabytes of RAMs, NVIDIA TI 1050, 8 gigabytes graphic card? Make sure that you do. I have an entire video that really, it's not just about, there's a lot of different reasons. The main reason that stuff usually gets in trouble is your system is too close to the system specs. Like you're saying, you got a certain graphics card. You didn't tell me what your processor was. So your processor might be close to the edge. It might be an i3. They really recommend something stronger for HD clips, especially. It also depends to make sure that you've got to have all of your drivers updated. Make sure you have all of your drivers updated. I have, if you go to my channel, I have a video on Filmora crash and lag. Type it into the search engine. It shows you how to make sure that your drivers are at least updated for the basic stuff. I always try to update my drivers from the original manufacturer if I have the choice. But if you have something that's built in, Windows can automatically check to see if there's a better available driver. Iggy always yells at me for using that feature, but it's there for a reason. And also you can make sure that you're meeting the system specs and that things are running the way they should. The biggest reason that most times people run into problems with Filmora is their system isn't up to snuff or the software isn't assigned to their graphics card. That's another big problem. You have to make sure that you go in and make sure that your software is assigned to run through your graphics card. Sometimes you've got a good graphics card and the way you've got your system set up is it's pushing Filmora through the CPU instead of sharing it between the CPU and GPU like it should. And your system's not functioning the way it properly should handle the software. So there's deeper issues. If you ever run into a problem where you go, I definitely meet and exceed all the system specs, but I'm having problems, put in a ticket with Filmora support, and they'll walk you through your specific system and tell you what you need to do to make sure it's optimized to run Filmora properly, okay? They've got a really good support team there. It's been a little slow. They're out of China, and China was hit first. We've all been hit, so there's some craziness. But their support team is really good, and they're usually really good about getting back to you. Also, Jay Wall, I got to mention this, has a fantastic Filmora users support group on Facebook with a lot of the people, Chien, Rick, guys who work on the software from Filmora are in that user group. So if you want to join a group where you can actually talk to some of the creators and get more specific answers and answers from the community, I think the group is 17,000 members. It's big. It's a good sized group. They're really smart in there. Filmora users group on Facebook. Search for it, join that group. Don't spam them, but go in there if you want to find information. They're fantastic. Great group. Let me see. What do we got next? Next question is Filmora 9. Let's see. When will plain Filmora get or will tracking? Plain Filmora. I love that. Plain Filmora. Just not the fancy, not the vanilla, the plain. We just talked about that. I'll let you know when I know, you'll know. Trust me. Next question. Jameel, can you do animation in Filmora 9? You certainly can. I made a video on, if you go into my homepage and hit the search bar and say, and just type in animation, I did an animation with my face. I used, it was Be Funky. I used this. It was like $6.99 for the software. It was a ton of fun. I actually animated my whole face and turned myself like into a cartoon character. It was something I had to do frame by frame. It was tricky, but it totally worked, and it was cool. Animation is one of the hardest things that you can do. You have to remember that real people sit and draw images one frame at a time and put them together. I was an art major in college, and I don't have the patience for it. Real people real people who do that for a living. It's tricky, my man. It's really tricky. Costume Co. Heidi, good to see you out there, my friend. Good to see you. It's tricky. Animation is a lot of work, and I try to post some shortcuts. I did it with my face, but I might try to do another animation thing, right? I did the annoying orange, which was kind of animation, but not really. I might do another one. I think it's fun to do the different animations. I might try to do more of a cartoon, real cartoon tutorial and see if we can come up with something for Filmora 9. That would be fun, right? I'll put it on. It's on my list. I'll definitely get to it. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Next question is, Envisha. If I upgrade to Filmora 9.4 from 9.3, do all the film stock effects work in the new version, or do I need to reinstall them? I have said sometimes they stay there, sometimes they don't. It depends on the upgrade, the update. I wish they would all stay there. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And it depends on how much they're changing the software. So from 9.3 to 9.4, I don't think so. Usually my stuff seems to be there. But yeah, sometimes you do have to reinstall them, and it's a pain in the butt when you spent all that time downloading them. And you have to go back, and you still have the license for them, but you have to download them again. It's a question I'm going to ask Filmora to make sure that they're clear on each update whether or not this is going to require us to reload film stock assets. And I'll make sure that when I post updates that I'll let you know if this is something that would affect your film stocks that you have installed, because in your case you might want to wait and go, well, I don't need it right now. I'm working on something and I don't want to find all those things again. So great question. I wish I had a slightly better answer. It's 50-50. It just depends on how much they've changed. Sometimes they change the software so much that it's a complete new update. Like when it went from Filmora 8 to Filmora 9, it was like a brand new software. Everything changed. The render button was back. Everything. It was like starting from scratch. So that's kind of where it is. A bit of a crapshoot, and I'll do a better job of letting you know in the future. Question. Wilson Silverthorne. Is there any way to save customized EQ settings in Filmora? To save them, not specifically. You can reapply them. Let me go here. Let's say we're on this piece of footage right here, right? And let's say I took this piece of audio down here, and I, up in the upper left, clicked on Customize, and I created a custom EQ. Let's say it was this. Let's say I decided I needed a lot of mid-range. Maybe I'm trying to sound like I'm on the radio, right? So I do this custom EQ. You can't specifically save them for later, but what you can do, if you click on that, and say, okay, what you'll find is Filmora 9 does, within the project, save that most recent setting, so that if I came to this section and I double left click on that audio, opened up the Customize, and I chose at the bottom Custom, boom, see, it's already saving it. So it's hanging on to my most recent settings, and I can reapply it. So that's the closest thing to a save that's available right now, where it will save the individual EQ settings. In terms of like saving it so that you could pull it up in a completely different project, what you'd have to do is actually save this project as like your audio project. Get rid of the other junk in it and say, okay, that's my cool EQ setting, so that you start from a fresh project that's actually a saved project that said cool EQ setting, and it was saved within the project. That's about the best way you could save a specific EQ curve that I know of. If anyone knows a better way of doing it, please let me know, because that's the only way I know of how to do it currently. Next question. From Jamil. Can you show how to do a Doctor Strange portal? It's on my list. It's a multi-million-dollar effect, how to do the circle, and it's on my list. I'm going to try to figure it out, and it's going to take some advanced editing tricks to do it. So when I tell you, don't look at me and go, well, that looks hard, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's a multi-million-dollar effect. It is on my list. I will make that video, I promise you. Let's see. Next question. Just Travel says, can we please see the entries so far in the contest? No, I'm not going to give you that. There are some great ones, though. I will tell you. Just Travel, I think you put in 2 so far. You can put in more than one entry into the Film Stocks contest. I don't know if I made that clear. You're not limited to just one. What I don't want you to do is spam me with a bunch of stuff that all looks exactly the same. The goal isn't to make my job harder than it needs to be. I would like to see you make one great entry and put it in. But if you make one and then later, a week from now, you make something awesome and you go, this is so much better. I should have entered this, and it meets all the requirements, enter it. I'll take a look. I'll put it in there. And if you've made a video before the contest started, but it meets the requirements for the Film Stocks contest, enter it. If it uses one of the 3 free packs, if it meets all the criteria, it doesn't have to be made after the contest. If you already have something in your library that meets the criteria. I've had more people send me stuff that I look at and I'm like, this doesn't even have any of the effects packs in it. I can't put it in the contest. So make sure it meets, read the rules in the contest in the description, make sure it meets all the criteria, make sure you're using one of the packs that we're featuring, the 3 free effects packs. Whenever you make it, you can make more than one, and if it was made before the contest, drop it in there. I want to see something awesome from you guys. I want to feature some of you guys out there. I always talk about me. I want to talk about you guys for a change. I want to give stuff away, and I want to show some of your stuff, all right? So that's the whole goal of that contest. Let's see. Next question. Jamil, didn't we just have one of yours? Can you do the Quicksilver flash effect? It's on the way. It's on my list. Absolutely on my list. Another hard one, but it's on my list. Jamil, how do I fly my... Can you have any other questions? Jamil, you got a lot of questions today, my friend. You're asking a lot of questions. How do you make yourself fly? Another one that's on my list. We'll see if we get to it. I can't do all superhero effects because not everybody's interested in that. I like to show a variety of stuff to a variety of creators because everybody's different. Not everybody needs the same information that you might need for your edits. So I usually try to do a lot of research and see what the greater target audience would benefit from the most. And then I try to make those videos because I think it's important that when I put something up that you guys go, man, I appreciate you putting it up. It really helped a lot of us. I really try to help the most amount of you that I can at any given time. Okay. So, but never be afraid to ask me something in the comments. If you have an idea and you're like, man, can you make this video? Drop it in the comments of any video, whether it relates to that video or not. And I do my best to read and respond to every comment. So I do pay attention. You guys, what you guys are interested in is always important to me. But those are on my list, pal. They're on my list. Let's see. What do we got here? Let's see. Usama. Can you make the glow lines effect in Filmora? You're talking about, they call it sometimes the scribble effect, where it's like glow lines around the person as they might be dancing or moving. You need motion tracking and you need some intelligent masking for that, which aren't features that are available in Filmora. I've been trying to figure out a hack for it because enough people have asked, could I like move and then have these lines move with me? But it would be a frame by frame manual motion thing that I'd have to create. You probably could. It's going to be a lot of work. It's not as easy as something like Adobe Premiere Pro that does that a lot more easily because it can motion track it. And I'm trying to see if Filmora Pro can do it too. I haven't played with the motion tracking enough. Currently in Filmora 9, it's not easy. It's not a push this button, do these 2 things, and you'll have glowing lines around your body following you as you move. But I'm going to try to see if I can figure out a hack for that. You know me, I love hacks. I like figuring out a better way to do something. It's on my list. I've definitely got that noted down. Danny Hatcher, how you doing, pal? I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts when I'm using Filmora 9. Do you use keyboard shortcuts when you're working, or do you just use the mouse? Danny, I use keyboard shortcuts like nobody's business. I can't tell you how many times I put up a tutorial where people are like, how did you do that move? Like, see where my playhead is right now? If I hit Control and B, it will split this footage. So a lot of times people will go like, what did you just do? You were in a tutorial and all of a sudden you split the footage, but I never saw you click on the scissors. So I use Control B. I'm always using Control Z, which will undo my last move. I use all the time. One of the biggest things I use is if you click on your footage, see how it highlights up here on the right? See this little checkered outline of this footage? If you use your arrow keys, you can move your footage. See how by increments, up, down, just slight increments. I use this all the time. Always using my keyboards. I might make a video that does nothing but show you some of the coolest keyboard shortcuts to use in Filmora. If you guys think that's something you'd want to see, let me know. I'll definitely do that because I use my keyboard all the time because I like to move fast. I want to move fast. And keyboard shortcuts make it so much simpler for me to really race through an edit because I know how to do it quickly with my hands on the keyboard instead of stopping and clicking 9 or 10 different things. Great question, Danny. Great question. Let's see. Let's find another. I'm just reading some of this. I started Filmora tutorial in Portuguese. I love Portuguese. We've got a great global community here. You guys, it's so funny. Like sometimes I'll get questions in a different language. I got to go over to Google Translate, put it in, try to figure out what was being asked, and then try to answer it. V Worldwide, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you, V. He's a guy who's been a really strong supporter of the channel for a long time. Let's get back to some questions here. Next question is Danny. I always like seeing Danny. Such a good guy. Amaze Reactor. Why is Filmora not available on 32-bit Windows? It isn't. It doesn't run on it anymore. A lot of people ask me that. Like, can I find Filmora for 32-bit? It's just outdated. It doesn't meet that. Those older school Filmoras used to run on the older the older operating systems, the older OS. They just don't anymore. They require a lot more. They need to be upgraded. They need to integrate with Windows 10 and 32-bit. It just doesn't cut it anymore in Windows. It does do Windows 7. You can still do some editing on Windows 7, but you got to be 64-bit. Make sure you know what the system requirements are for Filmora. If you go into Google and you typed in, here, let me be crazy. If you type into Google Filmora Tech, T-E-C-H, specs. And I have videos on my channel that show this, but really quickly you'll find right here. Here it'll show you screen, it'll show you Pro, tech specs for Wondershare Filmora 9, and you can quickly find the tech specs for each of the softwares from Filmora, as well as the type of files that they support. So sometimes people will be trying to import stuff that Filmora doesn't support, and it's all right there in the tech specs what type of file types Filmora recognizes and can work with. So make sure you have a good understanding before you purchase or download the software. Make sure that you know your system can run it. That's true of any software, not just Filmora. Anything. Make sure you've got you got to make sure you've got something that can handle it, okay? You don't buy a Volkswagen and then try to go to Home Depot and pick up, 4,000 pounds of concrete. You'll blow that thing up. You got to make sure that you've got the right system that can handle the software and run it properly, okay? Let's go back over here to questions. Next question is, Dogfather, how you doing, pal? Are you able to group multiple clips together in the timeline and move them around in this version? Yes, you are. I haven't tried it yet, but let's find out. There is a grouping feature where you could select, let me do this. I'm going to select this. I'm going to left click on this clip, highlight it. I'm going to hit Control on my keyboard, another keyboard shortcut, and I'm going to click this next big one. So now these two are both highlighted and grouped. If I right-click and choose Group, these two are now grouped together. So anytime if I'm somewhere else, if I'm working on another piece of if I'm doing something else in the timeline, if I come back, anything I do to this one happens to this one. So I could click on this larger one and start to move it and see how the other one starts to move. They are grouped. And you can group in between tracks. So you don't have to do it all on just one track. You can group from track 1 to track 2 to track 3 to track 4 and create different pieces and go, I want all these to be grouped together. So if I have all this stuff spread across my timeline, but one section it's this image with that title track, with this effect laid on it, and that audio underneath, and I want to move it, you can just left click on each piece, hit Control, click on the rest of them so they're all highlighted, and then just right click anywhere and hit Group, and it will group them. And if you're done grouping them, you can also click on any one of those later on. You can click on any one of those later on, right click, my slow computer, and hit Ungroup, and now they're ungrouped. And now they're no longer connected. So yes, it's still a feature. I love that. It was something they introduced a couple of versions ago, that you could take those pieces and group them. Oh, so helpful. Because I make these sections that are like intros or transitions or something that are layered, and I could group them together, and I could right click and copy and put that whole group somewhere else, and they were all perfectly aligned. I love it. They've been doing such a great job updating the software. It's been killer. Let me see. Let me go to the next question here. Next question is from Caleb Hopkins. Can you adjust them all too at the same time? Many times with me, I set all my audio to max volume, but they need to do it one by one. Is it possible now to select multiple and change them? I'm not sure. I haven't really seen that feature, but one thing I will say, guys, never forget that not only do you have individual tracks here. Okay, so here's your audio tracks and here's your video tracks. Underneath, your preview window right here. See where I am with my big orange lips and face? Underneath, right here, do you see it's a musical note? It looks like a musical note and a bunch of lines. If you click on this, that is your master mixer control. It'll have the overall volumes for every track in your project and then the master volume, okay? And you can set individual. So if you have a track that's got a ton of little audio pieces in it, you can control the audio for that the volume for the entire track by controlling your master faders. This one right here, see, this is video 1, video 2, and audio 3. So where I have an audio track, this is audio 1. That represents this, all of these audio pieces right here are all in audio track 1. So if I opened up the master mixer and I brought down the volume of that, it would take everything in that track and reduce the volume. Then you just click OK, it saves it, and now you've controlled all the audio for that track. And you can do it for each video track too. So get them where you want them, and then you can set the overall level of that entire track in the mix. That's the best way to do it. That's my favorite way to do it. The mixer. Some people don't know it's there, so it's an easy one to miss. Remind me, there's another new feature I don't want to forget to tell you guys about. Let me take another question here. Justin Daniels, One Wolf for More, and I'm motion tracking. I know. Put the request in the help. Click on help. Suggest a new feature, please. That's how you do it. If you are in Filmora, go up to the upper left. Click on help. New feature request. It will bring you to the website and you can put a new feature request. Keep asking. If you ask and if they can figure out a way to do it, and enough of you ask, that's how we'll get it. That's how we'll get our way. Strong arm them. Give us what we want. That's the best way to do it. Just to keep asking. If I hear, trust me, the minute I hear about it, they're going to have to chain me down to not tell you about it. I will let you know, I promise. Michael, how you doing, pal? Hey, Daniel, I'd like to know when the film stock contest ends. My entry is uploaded. Thanks, dude. Stick around. Yeah, I'm slowly getting around to each comment, just so you know. I asked everybody to put the links in the description. What happens is my filter settings, because people are constantly dropping links on my channel, trying to promote their own stuff, I have it filtered so they end up in a separate spam filter, and I have to go through each one and go, this is an entry, this is junk, just someone trying to spam my channel. So if you don't see your comment, it's not that it's not there. It's just that I haven't gotten around to pulling it out of the filters, making sure it's a legitimate link, and then okaying it. And you have till 30 days from launch. I think I launched it on the, I got to look again. It's 30 days from the day I put that video up. And I believe that puts us at the, I want to say like the 19th. I think I launched on the 19th. So it'll be the 19th of next month. You have up until the 19th, a full 30 days from the drop of the announcement to make your content, get it up there. The end of the day of the 19th, I guess it is, but double check. That's when I'm going to call it quits, and I'll make the announcement. I'm looking at everything along the way. So I'm going to make the announcement very quickly. If you have not entered the Film Stocks contest, go to my channel, the most recent video, read the rules, check out the video I have put up there. It's a really cool way to win, a year's worth of film stocks. It's a good deal. You can get all of the film stock stuff for free, premium, for an entire year, just for making a video. I think it's cool. So yeah, there you go, pal. Next question. It's me again. Well, yes, it is. Apparently it is. Let me see if I can actually find the question. It's a big one. Your question is, when I have more shots combined, right, sometimes the first one finishes with very low sound and the second one starts with very high sound. In between, there is some sound noise, shots change. I think you know what I'm talking about. No, I don't. I tried manually adjusting the fade, but there's some sound glitches in that section. Wow, a lot of questions. I did upload the promo, your comments, used all 3 packs, everything. You didn't reply. Okay, like I just said, listen, I'm trying to get to each one of those replies. If you put it in the comments, I'll get to it. I've had a ton of work. It's so much to keep up with. If you don't give it time, if you put it in the comments section, it'll show up and I'll get to it and I'll make sure I respond to every one of those. Okay. In terms of controlling your audio, a lot of times people think that, they record their audio and they think that, they're going to fix everything later on in the mix. You can do that, but it's so much harder. I try to get people to get their audio right in the first place. If you left click on any one of your audio tracks, like say this one, here's your 2 clips, this clip and then this next clip over here, right? If you left click on it, you can control the volume up here. You can set the control. And I did an entire video showing you how to add keyframes that you can add anywhere into a piece of audio. You click on this little button up here. It adds that white keyframe, and then you can duck and dodge, add more keyframes, have things You can add another second keyframe down there. You can have the audio move up and down just for that section. If you're kind of seeing that, it's not the greatest angle there. But you can control that. I have an entire video on audio keyframing. Check it out. But make sure that you do the work before you put things in. I think a lot of times people ask me questions like, hey, I've got really blurry video. How can I fix it in Filmora? And and the best answer is don't film blurry video. If you start with stuff that's inferior, your project is always going to end up being inferior. Try to solve all the stuff beforehand. Get the lighting right. Get the stuff in focus. Get your audio right. If you get the ingredients to your project right first, the final product is going to be so much better because you spent the time to get the right ingredients to get the final recipe to be right. Does that make sense? Really spend time on that. That's the best way to come up with a final product. And like I just said, you can control each individual audio track and duck and dodge them with the keyframing. But it ends up being you having to do a lot of work in post that a lot of people don't want to do. It's like, it's a lot of work to fix something that if I just tried to get even audio throughout, would have been a lot easier. That would have been a lot easier. It's just the easiest way to do it is to try to get it right off the bat. What do we got for next question here? Let's see. Let me go here. Let me go here. Somewhere I'll find a question. Let's go. Let's see. This is from Terry Fildy. What system are you running Filmora on? AMD or Microsoft, Windows or Mac? I personally use PC. I'm a PC guy. I've said this before. It's a custom built computer that I put together. It's an AMD Ryzen build. It's a Ryzen 7, so it's a 8-core 16-thread processor. I also have an 8 gig Radeon 580 XXX graphics card. I got an MSI motherboard. I built my whole system. I got 32 gigs of RAM. I built the whole system for under $900, and I'm going to build another one because this one I'm running Filmora on now is just getting bogged down. And I'm going to make a video showing you exactly how to build your own custom PC because I think too many people are spending way too much money for a system to run Filmora. Everybody keeps trying to buy laptops and stuff, which are really hard to run anything on because they're you spend a lot more money for the same amount of performance. So I'm going to teach you guys how to build a high-end 4K editing computer for under $1,000 that will last you and it'll be upgradable. That'll be something you can do a lot of great editing with and stop wrestling with Filmora, and it'll last you for quite a bit of time. So that's on my list. My full system specs, I have them posted somewhere. If you really need to know exactly what they are, ask me in the comments and I'll give you the full layout of it. Let's see. Next question. Jamil, another one, Jamil. Why Filmora? There's more better than that, right? No, there isn't. Filmora's the best ever. That's it. End of story. Stop. Don't be crazy. Jamil. Justin Daniels, can you select multiple clips and color correct them at once? Color correct them at once, Justin, not necessarily. Let me make sure I explain this correctly. What you can do is, let's say you're on this clip here, okay? And let's say you left click on it, you go up to color in the upper left, go into your advanced properties, and then you start doing some like coloring. Let's say maybe you add a LUT to this. Maybe you go, I want this to be like the cool film look, right? And then maybe you start changing the white balance on this and the temperature. I'm just destroying this piece of footage now. Maybe you go into the HSL, which is the individual colors, and you go, all right, I want to take the orange. I want to crank that way up. I'm going to take the blues, and I'm going to pull those way down. Let's say you do some crazy whatever, right? You click OK. This footage is now color corrected to the way you want. So this piece of footage looks like that, but another similar piece of footage still looks. Do I have these groups still? No, I don't. Let me take the mask off of this one. Hold on one second. Image mask off. Okay. So this one here doesn't have that color correction. What you would do, go back to this first one right here that you just color corrected insanely poorly. Right click on that. Choose right here. It says copy effect. Copy effect. And then what you want to do is go to your next piece of footage that you want to put that onto. Right click on that as well and put paste effect. And what it will do is it will take the color correction, as crazy and horrible as that is, and it will apply it to that other piece of footage so that you don't have to go back in and try to dial in the exact same settings. That was an update that came up, I think, one update or two updates ago, that you can now copy the entire color correction and paste it into another one. Pretty cool. I think that was one of their best features they've come up with. I have to check if you could paste it into multiple at once. You may be able to, but you can definitely do one at a time, and you may be able to do several. I think you can probably do several now. So that's a great question. That was a big time saver for me when they added that feature. I love that they did that. Next question. Maki Malang, can you teach how to do a Zach King edit? Zach King is on my list. He's a magician, not just an editor. He's a physical magician. So he does magic and then he edits too. There's been a couple that I've thought about doing. He does some cool ones, like you take a ping pong ball, bounces it off a table, it goes into a frying pan and then breaks open into an egg. I'm like, I want to do that. I see him do it. I'm like, I totally want to do that one. I can't do all his stuff because a lot of it is more than just editing. It's full on magic. He's a magician. So he mixes magic with editing, and I'm not a magician. I'm just an editor. So some of them I will. I'm going to do a Zach King one where I copy something. I show you how to do one of his tricks. It's on my list. Very cool question, though. Next question, 11B Nuffy. I can see the new 9.4 update following the link. It says 9.3. Thanks. Yeah, make sure you're using the link. I've changed the link. You have to use the actual link down in my description. Make sure that you use that link. It goes to the Spanish site. It's all explained there, and you can update it. Make sure your system meets the minimum system requirements. I've had people who don't have the right amount of they have the wrong operating system. They're trying to load the newest version onto a 32-bit OS, and they go, and it won't update for me. I just keep loading Windows 8. Well, that's because you have the wrong operating system, and it's not compatible. So make sure your system meets the tech specs needed for the new update, and then check the link below in this video and the one I've got posted in my community tab to get the latest 9.4.5. That's the one we're using here today. It's very cool. Next question. Many fun adventures. Do you think that Filmora ever use SVRT encoding like Cyberlink Power Director that is so fast exporting when you finish your video? Maybe. I don't know. They add a few things. I get a lot of questions, things like how do you compress your videos and get, because some people are really wrestling with some of the bandwidth on it and stuff. There's a cool product out there called Handbrake that after you export a higher quality video, Handbrake software, I think it's still free, allows you to compress that down to a lower bit rate and still hold on to some of the quality. I'm going to do a video on that because a lot of people ask me, like, Daniel, how do I still hold on to good quality but then get a smaller file size? Because I don't want them to be as huge as they are. I want to be able to upload them to YouTube and not have them be, I want them to look good, but I don't want them to take forever to upload. There's a product, a Handbrake, handbrakeoneword.com is a great way to deal with that. It squashes down your video size without totally destroying the look, so it's still pretty sharp, but closes down the file size. And that's one way. It doesn't change the export, but after you're done, if you're just saving it locally and you want to bring it up to upload it to YouTube, that's one way to do it. How you doing? Okay, Iggy, I see you in the chat there. Danny, good to see you guys out there, my friends. Let's talk about this next question, and I gotta not forget this other thing that I want to get to. Let's see. Lala Koala. That's a great name, Lala Koala. I'm actually exporting video right now at 25 frames per second. It's 15 minutes, 1920 by 1080. It takes 4 hours. Any way to speed this up? The first things that I always tell everybody is, one, it's about your system. You got to make sure that your system is up to speed. The faster your system, the faster your export. That's what it comes down to. If your system is working hard, you got to make sure you got the right specs for your system. Make sure your drivers are updated. And the most important thing, if you're actually in Filmora, every project when you start, go up to, let's see if I even did it. I'll bet you this one isn't. Go up to File. Let's go upper left. Scroll down to Preferences. Go over to Performance. See right now? I don't have these boxes ticked because I just updated this recently and it reset without having these GPU acceleration enabled. Make sure those boxes are ticked. Make sure you click OK, and you'll probably get a warning screen that says, hey, you have to restart the project or this won't take effect, which is totally cool. Say OK, and make sure that you restart your software using, I'm going to restart it right now, close it out and restart it, using the GPU acceleration, because if it's not enabled, you're going to find that everything moves slower. Mine's moving slower right now just because I don't have that enabled. It's on my crappy system and I don't have it enabled. And you always want to make sure that you enable those things, because a lot of times people think, well, I clicked it last time, so it should still be set. Every time you open up a project, make sure you've got the GPU acceleration Don't do what Daniel did. Make sure you've got it enabled, which I didn't. I make that mistake all the time. And that should help you. But make sure your system meets the minimum system specs. I've got a video on that. If you look up Filmora crashing under my channel, use the search bar in my channel. It'll immediately pull up. It'll show you the specs. It'll give you tips how to get your drivers updated and show you how to make sure you've got all your acceleration properly loaded. Including the export. So you want to make sure when you export that you have the GPU acceleration turned on. Because if you don't, it's going to lag. And if you don't see those boxes, if you can't click on the GPU acceleration like you see it, but you can't get them to click, it's because either A, your drivers are not updated for your graphics card, or your graphics card does not meet the minimum system requirements for Filmora 9, so it can't accelerate it. It can't interact with your graphics card. So always super important to make sure that the system specs that you're running Filmora on meet the minimum system specs or exceed them is better. So that it can run as quickly as possible, okay? Let's see. Let me go over to the questions. Next question is how-to tips. How to update Filmora 9 without downloading Filmora again. Currently, you've got to actually, the newest one, you have to go and download it directly. I know, it's just the way it is right now. If you wait a while, it'll finally show up in the update where you can do it from the software. But for right now, if you want the advanced copy of 9.4.5, link is in the description, and you will need to download again from the link. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. K Suppressa. Love Filmora, but it's lagging so much lately. Should I downgrade? Should you downgrade? Interesting question. If it's lagging too much, I wouldn't say downgrade. I would tell you think about upgrading your computer. I think Filmora is a great software, but it's getting to the point that if your system can't handle it and you've done all the things, if you've got your system up to spec and you've done it and you're using GPU acceleration and you're making sure that everything's doing what it should, your system has to meet those minimum system requirements or exceed them. Exceeding them is a big thing that I try to tell people. Just meeting the minimum system specs means that at best your Filmora project will run okay. The more you can exceed those minimum system requirements, the faster it'll perform. Get more RAM, get a better processor, get a graphics card that exceeds the minimum requirements. So I would say not downgrade the software. Think about upgrading the system you're running it on. That's what's important, because I don't want to see any creator waste time in their edits. I want to see you be able to move through your edits as quickly as possible, and that's done by making sure that your system is a higher powered system that can deal with not just Filmora, any video editing software. It can handle it and it can get the job done. You got to make sure you got the right tools for the right job, right? Next quick question right here. Let me see what we got going on. We got a lot of questions. Tim, it looks like you're using a PC. I have a very different look from my Mac, and it appears to have features that I don't have on my Mac. How am I missing film? It's a little different. They're very slightly different. I will say, Tim, most of the time Filmora 9 in Mac and PC are very similar. If you have the same version installed, make sure you've installed the latest version. I've got the link down in the description. If you're using an older version, it's going to look different. But they usually keep them very similar for both Mac and PC. A couple of slight tweaks, but they're almost identical. Make sure you have 9.4.5 installed. Let's see. Dark Heaven Creations. Can you make a video on how to edit a movie cinematic trailer using Filmora? Maybe. Yeah, I've done some. I know a lot of people like to figure out how to do cinematic thing. I do have a video on doing the cinematic bars, like how to do the black bars. That's on my channel. And I gave away some free LUTs. One of them was the naturalizer that gave your footage a very cinematic look. So again, whenever you want to find that stuff, I always tell people go to my channel, use the search bar right up top here. See that little magnifying glass? Click on that, and if you want to do things like black bars, if you're trying to how to do it, you can usually just type that in and it'll give you the video. Will show right up. You can search right through my library and it'll show you how to do it. Or if you're looking for free LUTs, you can put the word LUTs in, type that in, and it'll start showing you the free LUTs packs and the things that I've given away to help make your content look a little more cinematic. Definitely use my channel like a library. Search within the channel. There's a ton of stuff up there. I've made a ton of videos, and you can find all kinds of stuff just by using the words that you're looking for. LUTs, cinematic, black bars. It's usually all in there, okay? Let's see really quickly here. Let's get to another question. Mr. S Travel Quest. How often do they update LUTs? Can you recommend a good site for LUTs? They update them as much as they do. There is a new feature. I want to make sure you guys know about this one. It showed up a couple of updates ago where you can, they used to have just this here, like you'd click on a piece of footage, and then if you up in the upper left, you would click on color, And then if you scroll down, you had the option to add a LUT right here. See this? And this would add a LUT to your footage. And I gave away some free ones. So like the load new LUT, I have some that you can add. And there's some on the internet that anything that's a 3DL LUT, you can add a custom LUT. But a cool thing that they added recently is if you want to add, let me see if I can remember where it is here. If you say, okay, if you go to, I think they put it in the effects tab. Yes. Okay. In the upper left, if you click on effects and you scroll down, see this LUT 26, click on that. And where do they put it? There is a custom LUT in here. Where is it? Let me try the search bar. Custom. There it is. So if you start typing in custom, see this custom LUT, bring that down into a track above your, let me go full screen. Bring it down into a track above your footage. You can stretch this out over any amount of pieces of footage in your project. And if you left click on it, now you can either choose a LUT that's in this library, load one of your own, but instead of adding them individually to separate pieces of footage, you can put it above your entire project in a track, and that will give you the LUT effect across anything that's underneath it. So that's like one way to quickly change the entire landscape of all different footage. Like if you cut it all up and you went, oh, I kind of wanted to change the look, add the custom LUT into a track above under the effects tab, and now you can add that LUT effect to everything that's in the track below it. It's a pretty cool feature. I love that one. That was a newer update that they did, and I just love the fact they did it. That was really smart of them. Let me see. I've got a question from Christy and Loya. Where can I download free transitions, effects, elements, titles, or cheap packages? I always say Filmstocks has a bunch of stuff that's free. There's some paid stuff. I also have a video on my channel that if you were looking at my channel and you typed in the search bar up top, like I said, my channel is a library. Type in free. Start with free, and you'll see free stuff, free effects, free graphics, free LUTs, free animated. I gave away subscribe buttons. I had a promotion for free licenses, end screens. But right here, free graphics. This was one that outside of Filmstocks, I covered a bunch of places. Production Crate, I have the links down in this one. They have some great stuff too. Some of it's free, some of it's paid. But there's some really cool stuff that you can download, crack screens, all kinds of effects, explosions. Check out that video. And there's links in the description of that video that can send you in the right direction to get some really cool stuff if there's something on Filmstocks you can't find. Let's see. Next question. Jameel, I'm skipping you, man. You keep asking questions. I got to get to some other people. Blitz Unicorno 522. What about AMVs, anime music videos? It's not something that I specifically do. I've been asked that question, anime videos. It's such a niche thing. I don't create anime. That's an art form. So how to make anime, you can certainly do it frame by frame. I've shown in my content how to do stop motion kind of stuff and how to do animated. If you look up animation under my channel, you'll see I did it with myself and I cartoonized myself. But how to actually make, I can't teach you how to draw anime. It's one of those things, if you know how to do it and you know how to draw the frames, then you can absolutely bring it into Filmora and put them together and turn it into an anime motion thing. But you actually have to learn how to draw first. That's the part that there's nothing in Filmora that allows you to draw anime, right? But you can absolutely create animated sequences. Let's see, right over here. Boom, boom, boom. Artist Haven. Tish, how you doing? Is there a way to pan and zoom over a whole image in close-up? I want to show details of the dried results of a painting, but I can't quite figure it out. I want the whole painting and then zoom in and pan over part of the painting. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. I have a whole video on this that it'll answer it really quickly. If you type zoom into my channel, it's actually, I put it under, I think the name of this was a different one. It was called New Feature, because it was something that I didn't realize that I could do, and I put it under the title New Feature. This is it right here, New Feature. Let me see. New Feature, this video right here. I showed how to do this, and really simply for people who haven't spent any time, if you click on let me get rid of some of this stuff here. If you click on your video clip in your timeline, right click, choose crop and zoom, it'll always give you these abilities to have a start window, which is highlighted in green, an N window. You can click on that. It'll turn green. And that defines the motion of your crop and zoom. And you can tell where you want it to go. You can get it to go up to that corner and wait there for a minute. And then you can move around the screen. There's a lot of these that allow you to do slow pans from left to right. I've got a ton of videos on my channel showing exactly how to do that. Look at the new feature video. That one will definitely give you everything you need to know, Tish. And you can. I use it in mine. When I do tutorials, I'll film screen capture me working in Filmora, but then while I'm using it during the edit, I'll go, well, it's just screen capturing the whole thing, but I'll go, but yeah, I want to go in the upper left, and I'll zoom up to the upper left and hang there for a minute and show some portion of click here, click there, and then I'll say, and then back in your timeline, and I'll zoom down and hang in the timeline. So it's the exact same thing you would do on a painting if you wanted to move around it, stop, hang, exactly the same. So that is the video that will answer that one for you. It's this one. It's this one right here that says new feature. Definitely check that one out. That'll give you all the information you need to know to do that. All super smooth transitions, crop, zoom, hang, fly around your whole screen. Even if you just screen captured one simple thing, one picture or video, it works either way. You can zoom all around, hang, come in, pull back out, move across. I spent a lot of time making sure that video explained that pretty well. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Hello, friend. I really like your crazy way of presenting videos. Thank you, Antonio. I am a little crazy. That's just how I am. I'm never going to grow up. I'm 53 years old. I still act like I'm 12. Let's see. Next question. I'm trying to get as many of these in as I possibly can. Tish, thank you for that question. Pixelpia, another channel member. How do I import my music so it can be used in all projects? You can do that if you are in Filmora. And you create, let me see, up in the upper left, you can create shared, if you click on media, let me go to the upper left. See up in the upper left, there's these folders. These are all folders, right? So you're importing something. If you click on shared media, this one right here, shared media, and you import something, and you bring something in, a piece of footage, this will stay in your shared media folder. So when you close Filmora and open again, you'll have that shared file that stays in there when you open up that shared folder. So it'll be in different projects. So a lot of times I'll have I'll have that segment that I've made that says, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell to be part of the conversation. That's a segment that I built that goes in every video. So I build it, I put it in my share folder, and when I start a new project, there it is. It's right there ready to share. I've got those shared elements. You can do it with music as well. If you're in the upper left here, there's also like a shared file. You can have shared music, shared folders. You can create folders in here too. You can always add one here by clicking down here, adds, or get rid of it here. You can delete these folders, but you can create as many folder types as you want so that when you are creating projects, being able to create a system where things are easy to get to, easy to find is so important. I'm going to do a video on that too, on how to really organize your stuff. So as you're building out a bunch of content, you can easily find stuff and organize it and always have it there when you need it. I'm going to definitely do a video on that. I think it's worth covering, but that's how you do that, my friend. Jamil, again, I'm skipping you, pal. Wanted Gaming. When I do the zoom on one piece of footage, resolution gets horrible. Why is that? Make sure that the piece of footage that I'm getting the burps, too much bubbly water. Make sure that when you film your footage, it's got to be higher resolution. If you're using a piece of footage that's kind of grainy and not that high resolution to begin with, if you zoom in onto it, you got to remember that you're shrinking it, so there's going to be fewer pixels per square inch, which means that piece of footage is going to be more grainy. So you always want to film at a higher resolution. If you know you're going to do a lot of zooming, maybe at least film in 1080p. Try to get up to 4K, and always use a higher bit rate, use a higher resolution, use a higher FPS. That's another one too. The FPS setting can actually change that too, the amount of information per frames. But I always film at all the higher resolution, high res footage, so that when you zoom into it, it still looks good when you get in really close. All right. Let's see here. Next question. Roy O'Connell, can I morph a photo of my young kid into a video of them while they're older? There actually is a morph feature that's in Filmora. I actually started working. That's on my list of videos to make. I started testing it. I turned my girlfriend into me, or me into my girlfriend, or one of the two. I can't remember which way I went. And it worked. It took a bunch of layers to make it really cool. But there is a morph feature where you can have two pieces of footage. let me see. Let me move this closer. Let me see what I can do here. I haven't used this one in a long time, but up in the, I think it's under the, I think it's in transitions. Let's click on transitions in the upper left. Let's use the search bar and let's see if we can find morph. Yeah, here it is. If you bring that down into your timeline between these may have a space. Yeah, I've got these touching. Hold on. Let's get this to overlap. It will morph. You can stretch it out. It's not perfect, and you can dial it in a bit, but it will kind of morph from one piece of footage, and it will swap it over, and it kind of does this slow morphing technique. But it's okay. The closer the two, like if it's two faces, it looks better. But there's a way you can layer to really make that look cool with a couple of different effects, and that's one. It's in the project. I'll definitely have a more detailed tutorial on that to have you turn into another person using a few layers to make it even more realistic. All right, great question. That was a great question. I almost forgot that I was working on that one. Next question is Voteball Media. Can you also work with two monitors? Yeah, you totally can work with two monitors. I work with two monitors all the time. I usually... It depends. If you're trying to take one Filmora screen into two monitors, it's a little tricky. You mean like opening up the subsection in there? That's a deeper question. I mean, I work with two monitors while I'm working with Filmora, but I do it in a different way. I expand. It's a longer question. If you're trying to be able to have two projects going, what you can't do, this is important, you can't have two instances of Filmora running on the same system. Does that make sense? I have 3 screens. This system has 2 screens, one and one above it, and then over here I have a third screen, but that's a completely different computer system, and they're all linked together through a single keyboard and a single mouse. So it's all I use a product called ND. What do I use on this one? Not NDI. I use Synergy, and it allows me to connect them all together so that everything is all run together. So I have to have 2 different systems running Filmora in order to have them running on separate screens and separate instances. Filmora on your computer will only allow you to run one instance of Filmora at a time, unless you actually had 2 separate versions of it. I've had Filmora 9 and 0.3 and Filmora 9.4 installed at the same time, and I've run them because they're technically 2 different installs on my computer. But no, you'd have to really run. You can't run 2 different instances of the same software at the same time from the same application. Did that make sense? I hope that answered that. That was a tricky question. When the questions get out, I'm like, wait, what? Is that a hard question or what? When I zoom in, I'm just quickly, Antonio, this is never good. Yeah, I just covered that one, YouTube. But don't forget to show the other new feature. Thank you for mentioning that. It's UberTuber. The new feature. Thank you for mentioning that, my friend. There is a feature that they've added that someone else in the chat noticed it too. Let me come over here. If you, check this out. Check this out. I added it to this one, I think. Let me get rid of that transition. Here's some octopus footage that I've got from Pixabay. It's right here. Let me pull it over. They improved the stabilization feature in the last, I don't know if it's this update or the update before. I'm only noticing it now. But if you left-click on your footage, up in the upper left, see this new, in the drop-down? The stabilization feature is even better. If you click the green arrow, you're going to notice that right here, it'll slowly go from 1 to 100. It analyzes the footage, and it applies a much better stabilization than we've had in the past. Remember how we've had kind of crappy Sorry, Filmora. The stabilization has been crappy. This is much better, much better. Check this out. I'm going to turn the stabilization off. I'm going to go to the full screen, and I had gotten this piece of footage of this octopus where it was following the octopus, but if you look at the edges, the whole kind of thing was shaking around. So like the camera was shaking and kind of spinning around, and even though the motion of the octopus was smooth, the camera underwater is all kind of up and down and shaking back and forth and not great. I applied the stabilization in the upper left, and you can set it for the amount you want. And as you set it up, it actually zooms in. So to get the more stable view, it has to crop a bit more. So the more stabilization you want, you turn it up, it increases the crop. But even at like a 15% or so, look how much more stable this footage is. Now it's really following the octopus and not shaking all over the place. Look how clean that suddenly became. That's a huge advantage. We turn that stabilization off, and now look at the footage. It's like it's jumping, it's up, down, it's back and forth. This is a massive improvement. This is something that you guys have asked for. Like, can we get better stabilization? I want to be able to stabilize my image. It just kind of had a random one. But in the last few updates, especially this one, much more powerful. So if you're anyone using any drone footage or doing any walking stuff where it's a little shaky, it's going to crop you in because it has to do that. The way it adjusts for the shake is it goes in closer and it moves the whole screen so that it's adjusting on one target point. So to get a better stabilization, it's because it's moving the picture, some of it would show black on the left and right. So it has to zoom in a little to make sure that the motion it's adjusting for doesn't end up showing black bars somewhere in your frame. But it is killer. It's killer. It's so much better. Thank you for reminding me of that one. That new stabilization is sick. It's really good. It's really good. Very impressed. Let me see. Let me get to another question here. Next question is by SOTM Gaming. What is the best way to add thumbnails into a video? My channel is new. I'm looking to grow. To add thumbnails into your video, you can do that right inside of YouTube. We're kind of concentrating on Filmora today. I will do some more YouTube generated stuff, but you can do custom thumbnails if your channel is verified. You have to verify your channel. Google how to verify your channel, which you just have to make sure that it's tied to your email account. You've verified it, and then you can use custom thumbnails. So whenever you make a video, you can actually add a custom thumbnail. And I've been using Affinity Photo to make my thumbnails, which they're giving away free right now for 90 days, and a lifetime license is $24.99. It's as good as Photoshop. It doesn't have the ecosystem of Adobe, but it's fantastic. I'm going to do a video on how to make thumbnails, and I'm going to feature Affinity because you can get a free 90-day license, complete use right now. I'm going to do one on Reaper, teach you about audio. I've got so many things I have to get to. Great question. Great question. I promise I'll get deeper into that one. PC support, Midlands. I've used pretty decent system, RX 580. That's what I use, 16 gigabytes. It's very similar to mine. Samsung Evo SSD, that's what I use. While exporting my 4K, it's taking a few hours on better quality and 3 on good, please. Okay, so your system's actually pretty close to mine, a little lower. What I would tell you is make sure your channel is PC support. What do you need my support for? What I would make sure of is download the updated drivers and I'm trying to think, I've got it, especially for the 2 pieces of software that you have. You want to download the processor itself has an AMD, the graphics card has the AMD Radeon software. Download it. There's a new version that came out this past month. So go to the AMD website and download the software that goes with it, because you can optimize the performance of your graphics card and get it to overclock. Super important, super important. And download the software for your CPU. There's a Ryzen Master software that goes with your CPU that will allow you to control it and optimize that as well. The thing about having higher end stuff is you got to make sure you have the newest drivers and the software that goes with it so that it's optimizing the pieces within your computer to run at their highest performance level. And especially with that graphics card, overclock it. You can get that thing to really crank. I got mine up to, I don't know, like maybe 3.7 or something. It's moving. Mine goes really, really fast. But keep in mind, anytime you always ask for more, if you're doing higher end stuff, 4K, higher bit rate, it's always going to take longer, especially if it's 60 frames per second. First thing I tell you is upgrade your RAM. If you're at 16, get it up to 32 at least. You start seeing diminishing returns after 32. You get up to 64 and it's incrementally better. But a big difference between 16 and 32. I double up and get 32. And make sure you've got the software for those 2 pieces, your graphics card, your CPU, and your GPU installed, the latest drivers from the manufacturer, and make sure that you've got them dialed in, okay? And that's true with anybody. Make sure you guys, that your systems are up to snuff. That's the fastest way to get things to work. Astro Jade, is it possible to use a transition tab instead of the motion tab for my green screen clip? Whenever I use the transition tab, the background clip both do the same transition. Yeah, you got to be careful. If you put a transition on any piece of footage, it pretty much affects everything below it. So if you're just trying to get something to move, add an animation or motion to that clip instead, which if you left click on that footage in your timeline and then you go up top here in the upper left, you'll see motion. You can add motions to them. But if you put a transition onto them, it's going to affect the tracks below it because Filmora thinks you're making a transition in your footage, so everything flips. So try to defer to. I know a lot of times people will put something down in the corner and they just want it to pop in and move away, and they're adding transitions to them instead of adding motions. Use motions for those features, okay? Let me grab one more here. We've got from Tubes Pineda. Can you use titles from other websites like Envato and into Filmora? Yeah, you can absolutely. I showed how to use cool text and bring them in. And I added them as elements, layers up above in my timeline. Any font that you add to your PC or your Mac, I'm a PC guy, will show up in Filmora 90% of the time. There are some exceptions. Some of my friends who speak languages like Urdu say that doesn't always show up right. You're right, it doesn't always lock into every single font in every single language, but whatever fonts you add to your PC, most of the time they will now show up in Filmora. Adding a font to your PC is very simple. If you just go into your search bar and just put in fonts, you can typically go font settings right about here. It'll open up your settings tab, and you can right here, can you see this? You can bring in a new font and you can just drag and drop right into this box right here, and it will add your font. Just bring it in, drop it right there. It'll add that font, and that font will now show up in Filmora for you to use in your projects. It's one of the coolest things I love doing more than anything is changing and playing with the fonts. Link video, Daniel. What am I trying to link, Rafe? Let me know what I'm trying to link. Heidi, yeah, PC. I'm one of the things I got to tell you, I apologize for. Sometimes people ask me Mac questions. I don't have a Mac. I'm thinking about getting one just so I can use it and answer more of your questions for Mac-based users. But I spend money like it's going out of style. I think I dropped $1,000 yesterday in new gear. It's like, at some point I have to put the brakes on the spending, and try to make sure that I can rationalize some of my spending. But yeah, it's definitely I'm a PC guy, and a lot of times when you hear me talk, I apologize that I'll tell you something, and if you're a Mac user, you go, it looks a little different to me, and I forget that I speak like everyone's using a PC, and you're not always doing that. The video on the font. Oh, I don't have one, Wraith. I don't have one specifically on how to install the fonts. Somewhere inside of one of my other videos, I did it, but I will make a font-specific one. That's a great idea, Wraith. I will make a font-specific one, but I did show how to do you may be asking for how I did the cool text. That was the one I think you're talking about. I did one which was cool text, and it showed how to add the whole cool text generator. Which was all these awesome free three-dimensional fonts that you could just create one, drop it into your project in a layer above, and it'll make like really cool logo-looking fonts. Let me drop that right into the chat right now. That video where I covered that. Here's the one. Yeah, it was all free stuff. I showed how to get free stuff from Production Crate, free stuff from cooltext.com, and how to get free music and sound effects from the YouTube audio library. That was a great video. So that's in the chat right now. Check that out. Whenever I find some cool free assets, I always go for free. If I can find something free for you guys, I will always try to find the coolest stuff, let you know about it, and blow that out there so that you guys have them ready for you when you need them. Listen, I know I didn't get through every question today, but I'm going to wrap this one up. I've been going for almost an hour and a half here. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. If you have more questions that I didn't get to, ask them in the replay. This will post again. Put them in the comments or in the comment section of any video, and I promise you I will get to them and answer them. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Stay safe out there. It's getting crazy, but please do me a favor. Take care of yourself. Keep making videos, and make sure you're entering into our Film Stocks contest and download the newest version of Filmora 9.4.5. Enjoy it. Tell me if there's anything in there that you have questions about, and I'll do my best to make sure that you guys have the answers to those questions. Again, stay safe. Love you guys.